So welcome to part 2 of this 3-part series where we're unpacking first the field and now frequency and vibration. And then next we will tie that in with scalar, which is one of the most interesting modalities here at Integrity Wellness. So Dr. Crystal, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy. Um, why don't you tell me more about frequency and vibration in this field that we live in?
Amazing. So Nikola Tesla, I think everyone, for the most part, probably is aware, or at least knows of his amazing contributions to human life and the world. He is actually the inventor of alternating current electricity. And so way back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was quite a few scientists and physicists and engineers who were studying this field that we were just talking about. And they uncovered some really interesting properties. So we're talking about frequency and vibration. And so vibration is actually the process that occurs within the substrate of this field. So anything like electromagnetics or sound, any of the usual properties that we know of that occur from this field, like light, they all have a specific way that they move within the field, which is called transverse, which is up and down. And that's what creates the frequency. So frequency is just a measurement of cycles per second of the vibrational pattern of the up and down movement of this field. And so everything begins with some kind of movement of the field. And it's usually, again, this up and down movement, or it could be vortexing or spinning and spiraling. And it could also be just a longitudinal field, which we'll talk about with scalar energy. And so first we have the field of consciousness itself, of awareness, of intelligence, of fundamental brilliance. It's there. It's what everything is derived from. And then in scripture, it talks about first was the Word, and the Word was God. So you can call God the field, right? I don't use that word because it's so loaded with dogma and people fight and argue over what God means. So I use source or ether. But again, fundamentally, we're talking about the same thing. It's the fundamental awareness and intelligence that all things are created from. And when this field is agitated or moved in certain ways with vibration or with sound, and light again is very the same. Nikola Tesla said that light is just a sound wave in the ether. And so they're all so close to the same thing, but yet we see them and experience them as massively different attributes, right? Different experiences, light and sound. But fundamentally, they are waves or vibrations or frequencies, right? Cycles per second of a movement of this field. Everything comes down to that. And that's why it's so important when we talk about trying to go to the roots or look at where fundamentally the problems lie. They always lie in energy. If you want to change or redirect or alter matter, matter is not fundamental. It's, again, an attribute, I would say, of this substrate of energy, right? So the other component that I just wanted to mention about frequency and vibration is if there's a movement in the unified field of consciousness that is then generating the frequency and vibration, these really are very much sound waves. They're harmonics, and that's the language that the universe speaks. It's the language that your body speaks. So there's lots I could talk about, but I think I'd like to just keep it focused on the body and why frequency and vibration is important. So again, it's the second step of creation almost, is the movement of the ether to then get to the point where it generates matter. And it's the relationship between the frequencies or the cycles per second of movement. And it is ultimately the harmonics of how those frequencies all fit together in their wave patterns. And kind of like a symphony. If you think about how symphonies or orchestras work, right, there's many, many, many different parts and people playing different instruments and different tones and pitches and sounds and on and on. But they're all playing the same notes. And the harmonics of this and how they fit together and they resonate together creates the beauty or the symmetry of the whole. And when we hear it, it sounds beautiful and it actually causes our body to resonate with it as well, all of our cells. Every bit of your body is in motion, even though it looks solid. If you had the capacity to look at each cell and each space between the cell, you would see movement. You would see space. Nothing is as solid as we think it is, even concrete. So these are really important principles to understand when we're actually trying to apply solutions to problems that we have. Because if we forget that everything is in motion, we forget the very foundational properties and ways that life itself works, then we're never going to get to the true solutions. And I think there's, at least in my world, there's a movement towards truth, fundamental truth, not somebody being right about something, but truth. What is the truth? And all of those qualitative features of life, like truth, like love, like emotions, they're all very much vibrational. They're very much harmonics or disharmonic entities and movements in the ether.
This can seem a bit much for someone to really digest and understand. But in regards to, I guess, healthcare or what it means to the individual, can they influence these? Can they influence vibrations and frequency or even sound in this field to perhaps change something in their life or see a physical expression of something that they wish to see? Is there a way we can tap into this intelligence? And of
Yeah.
course, our thoughts, like, there's collective consciousness, and our thoughts are a big part of that as well. And how we treat others and treat ourselves and say what words we say to ourselves and say to others, it all ties in together in some sort of way. But how can someone understand, okay, now that we have a field and there's vibrations and sounds that basically thread everything
Mm-hmm.
all together, and maybe I'm kind of losing everyone here, but like what can someone do now that they know that there's
Mhm.
vibrations and frequencies that are changing the course
Mhm.
of what we know as time,
Right.
right?
So I think it's really important to look at things simply, even though these are very complex, um, new but not new ideas. It's super easy that we can look at them simply. So your body is it has this consciousness, and the consciousness is what then is affected by everything and will direct the answers or the solutions right to you, to your tissues, to your body, your physical body, your nature. So your consciousness and then your movement of this consciousness, essentially spin and charge, is how I like to really simply look at it. How things spin and how things charge are really important. And every single every single thing can affect the field. But the field is designed with patterns of growth or um, patterns of entropy, and we can learn those patterns. So if we want to improve our life in whatever respect, it could be relationships, it could be, you know, your job or your success in life, it could be your health. It doesn't matter what you're looking to improve. There's a very principled approach or process to that. So something that is life-giving or life-promoting is always going to enhance everything in your life. And since the universe itself is very much um, awareness, right? It's mental. Your thoughts are really a huge driver. So the internal conversation that you have with yourself is a really big driver, and you will feel in your body whether there's calmness or peace, and that's life-giving and life-promoting. It's very simple. If you feel tense and constricted and uneasy in your body with certain thoughts, they're not life-giving and life-promoting. So you can very simply stop thinking those thoughts, change the story and the conversation in your mind, and move back to something that you know already makes your body feel really well. And just that alone will serve you tremendously in this super complicated world where everyone wants to find, I kind of call it the needle in the haystack, or we're searching through the weeds for answers, when the biggest answers and the biggest solutions are right in front of us. There's something that we do every day. They're right under our nose, just like the field. Technically, it is the field, but they're right there. And all we have to do is just shift our lens a little bit to stop looking at the physical expression or the circumstances, the external circumstances, and tune in. What is the harmony in your body doing right now? Does it seem like it's actually in harmony, or does it seem like it's in disharmony? Those two things are very different and they feel very different in your body. But we've been taught and pulled away from um, sort of sensing what our body is actually speaking to us with, or the intuition, the higher faculty, um, cognitive capacities that we don't use anymore because they were at one time considered to be artsy or woo woo. But in fact, they are direct connection to the field. The field is always expressing itself to us. And this is how we listen to it. And this is how we respond appropriately to the guidance that the field itself and the intelligence of this universe is giving us. The intelligence of your body is giving you. And people often get signs or symptoms. And I call those expressions. I don't use labels and titles often like medicine does anymore. And there's a reason. But every single thing that you're experiencing in your body is an expression from how that field has been related to by your thoughts, your emotions, by the life you've been living, how active you are, the relationships that you have around you, the food and the drinks that you're putting into your body, the supplements that you're putting into your body, all of the information. I call every one of those things inputs. So if you think of your body like a radio, that's just super simple. When you tune a dial, the dial of a radio, to whatever station, let's say 99.5. Great. If you tune it to 99.5, you'll have what I call pure signal and no noise. If you tune it to 99.6 or 99.7, you're going to get static or noise. And that's no different than our bodies. When our bodies are tuned in, dialed in to the frequencies, the natural frequencies of the earth and of natural resources, biological living sources of energy, we are thriving. And we can feel that in our bodies because you'll feel full of life. You'll feel energized. You'll feel really good. And again, life-giving, life-promoting, feels good, feels calm, feels peaceful inside your body as you walk around and live life. And anything opposite to that means it's not helpful. It's not productive. It's more entropy or chaos or noise. And so we want to balance the signal to noise ratio as much as we possibly can to have more gain in the signal and less noise in the system.
That is a amazing description there. And we do get caught up in the noise of life. That's actually a saying, oh, caught up in the noise. And because we really get distracted and influenced by everything else, and perhaps we're doing everything we can, but we're missing the one thing right in front of us that maybe we just like didn't look at, or we're too afraid to confront, or whatever that was. And I love that description of the radio, that if you're even 0.1 off, right, you hear fuzz, and no one wants to hear the fuzz when they're on the road, right, or wherever they're listening to their radio. They want clean sound, and that's kind of how we want to live life. We want to live in harmony, right? We want to live peacefully. And I think that's a great segue um, for the next episode, because in the next episode, we talk about a modality that can align those frequencies, or help you align those frequencies.
Absolutely.
Much, much easier than you might realize. And it's something that you'll have to stay tuned for next week.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we should include in terms of how integrity wellness considers vibration, frequency, and energy?
In integrity wellness, and in our perspective, in our approach, it's fundamental, right? It's just as fundamental as the field itself, right? The field itself couldn't provide anything if there wasn't also movement. And I think everything that we do here involves frequency and vibration and energy to some degree. And it just all depends. But again, we're looking at dialing in the signal, and there is no noise here. The odd time we may have a puppy barking, but honestly, the environment here has been created extremely with care and caution, and with the deepest study and intelligence into what gives life and where life comes from. And so it's a very harmonious and balanced and resonant environment. And I think everything that we've paired together very uniquely, it works in almost like a natural biostacking kind of way. And it's exponentially therapeutic because of that factor, right? Because of the care and consideration that's gone into the development of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Crystal.
Thank you.
So